All right, so what I'm going to do is make a type of spaghetti dish that that I don't know if say I came up with it, but probably had something like this eating out one time. But I decided to make this when I ran out of spaghetti sauce. So so basically, it's pretty simple. It's instead of spaghetti sauce, you just use a bunch of butter. All right, and what I like the best with it is clams. All right, so just any kind of clams. I know it's backward for you guys, so now it's right side. Okay, so basically you just cook the spaghetti like the way you normally would, and since I'm cooking for myself, I guess I only make little. But the amount of water, is since I'm only making for myself, I'm not going to be making that much spaghetti. All right, so I barely fill up the thing to halfway. All right. Hold on. All right, and this, this is just because I didn't have anything prepared. So, so you get to see how I basically do it. I strain out most of the seafood juice. All right, so you're not getting, but I'll leave a little bit in just because for the flavor. All right, and then dump it all in. If I was cooking for more people, I would use more than just one can. Or if I really wanted a whole lot of clams, or any kind of seafood would work with this, I guess. I just like clams. All right. Now, the amount of butter is, there's no set amount I have. I just put a blob in there. Now, I tend not to eat it all, but, I mean, then I'll just save it in like a glass jar or something like that. Something you can reuse later. Let me see. All right, something like this. All right, so you can reuse it later because it's going to be melted. So I'll just use any amount because I don't want to make too little, and I know I'm going to have some more later, or when it's melted, you can use it on anything, All right, so now the problem with my things is it doesn't. All right, the problem with my stove is that the jets in the back probably I think need to be cleaned. So I usually have, the front ones work fine, but I usually got to start up them by themselves. All right, so I don't ever mix the butter with the clams though, just because it kind of dulls the flavor of the clams. It like smothers the flavor, so I usually just put it in the spaghetti. Now, I'll usually add the oil, for those of you who may not know, because when you're cooking the spaghetti, it causes, they can end up sticking together, so the oil helps prevent it from sticking together. And so there's never a set amount, so if you want to know how much, just start counting when I start pouring, and then you'll get a rough idea. So I mean, when you're doing it for a while, after years and years of doing it, you basically know how much you like adding. All right, so so I would say maybe a quarter cup, just giving a rough estimate. All right, and then I like adding a bunch of salt. So I like the taste of salt, all right? And I can taste it now, too, when people don't add enough salt to their spaghetti. I have to add more onto it, though I can't really taste the salt too much when I make it. But it's like, I'll just add a bunch, I mean, most of it's going to be drained off anyway, so there's going to be some. And you just have to watch the butter, just because you want it to melt, but if it starts burning, then it's going to be a problem. All right, and then what you can do with the butter also, because I'm not going to use all that, so can leave it, or you can take some of it up now and just put it in there, see, like this, and just set it off to the side. And the other thing, I know what I like, so you have to know your own flavor also, what you like, is I'll usually add some garlic and onion powder, because I don't really want, like with this, I wouldn't want to chop up onions. It just, I don't know, I wouldn't like the idea of chopping up onions. But in spaghetti sauce, not spaghetti gravy. All right, spaghetti sauce. Now at this one, I usually use the metal spoon because I don't want the soaking into the wooden spoon. All right. All right, and when this gets a little hot, you just shut it off. You just let it sit there. And you can always reheat it. It's not going to get cold. All right, so I'm just going to be waiting here for the water to boil for a little bit. And I'll show you what type of spaghetti I use. Like, I get this from Uncle Giuseppe's. I know it's backwards for you guys again, but it's these. For whatever reason, you know, it's like it really doesn't matter what kind of pasta you use. I just happen to like this kind of pasta with this particular meal, you know, psychologically. It's these things, I think they're called, this one is, I don't know, these are called, tend to be called, like this. I like this brand, all right, Del Verde, all right, and they're called, they go, Nests, all right, so I like this brand, but I like these from Uncle Giuseppe's. The whole place is just an Italian supermarket, and so this is what this looks like. All right, and so these are egg fettuccine, so that's what they look like, and they usually mix like maybe 2 or 3 of them in there. So I'm just going to hit pause now because unless I can think of something else to talk about. But this other kind of like Del Verde, it's the same thing, but they're green. Right, it says made with spinach, so I mean it's still pasta. It's not all spinach pasta, you know. There's just some spinach mixed in with it. So, but these, I started eating these because one of my friends made some, and these taste really good. I like the way these taste. All right, so so for this type of meal with the butter, I usually, maybe with regular spaghetti too, like fettuccine or something like that, or just like regular spaghetti. I would use the butter, but not for shells. Like the other kind that I'll usually eat, these, not so much the brand. I don't care so much about the brand, but the shells like this, I wouldn't eat butter with them. You know, I would just use regular spaghetti sauce. But it's like I like these because of growing up. You know, more for like sentimental reasons. You know. But these and the squiggle noodles, you know, the ones, I don't know what they're called, but I call them squiggle noodles because they're like little spirals. All right. And so those, like, I like eating them. And those ones I only eat with spaghetti sauce too. I wouldn't eat with them with butter. So the only ones I would eat with butter, okay, it's boiling now. The only ones I would eat with butter are the ones I'm eating now, because these are essentially regular spaghettis. You know, they're regular spaghettis, just boiled up. All right, and so I pretty much know how much I want to eat. So I really just add like 2 or 3, and I probably have I got a lot more water than what I need. So I'm just going to put, you know, I'm going to put 5 in there, and I'll have these for another day. Let me see. You know what, let me put 6 in there, and so this way now I got 2 meals. All right, now I know the way I like the spaghetti, so whatever the time is, it says 6 to 7 minutes, so I know automatically it's set for me because of my taste. I automatically make it 7 or 8 minutes. All right, because I don't like it like even the tiniest bit like hard. It tastes, my taste buds, it feels like it's undercooked. All right, so I like it more soft. I remember I was showing somebody one time. One of my former students, how to cook spaghetti, and I wasn't clear on one thing. It's something I assumed they knew, but they put the spaghetti in before the water boiled, like almost like right away, and when it came out, it had the shape, but they were all, and so make sure you wait till the water boils, all right? And so what happened, so I'm going to set it for now, since it's been in about 37:30. So I know, right? So when it came out, it still had the shapes of the, I think it was macaroni, but it came as, it was all mush. As soon as you put it together, it came out like one big ball, like a soft ball of pasta, right? And so you only need to stir this a little bit here and there and just let it cook. I never turn down the heat also. Now, there's a trick you can do. I'll turn this heat back on for the butter like maybe a minute before or 30, or actually as soon as I drain the pasta, I'll turn the heat back on real quick just to heat it back up so if it's solidified at all. All right, there's a trick you can do, like if I ever cook a lot of pasta, when it starts to boil over, if you put this, now you're not going to see it here because there's not enough water. All right, if you put this here, just a wooden spoon, right on top, it'll actually like pop. It'll pop the bubbles, so you won't get that overflow when you fill it up really high. All right, so and the clams are going to need to be heated up again. So what the person did, it's one of my former students. What she did was when she was cooking it, because we had like a big party or something like that, whatever I think it was a church thing, because she ended up going to the church I went to, and she wanted to know how to make it, so I was showing her how to make it, and when she thought it was this big gloop. It was so disgusting because it was so mushy. I mean, it was like, it looked right, so it looked nice, but as soon as you put a fork into it, it was like, it was so disgusting. You couldn't eat it. You had to throw the whole thing away. All right, so yeah, so make sure it completely boils, all right, before you cook anything. And once you stir it just once or twice and that nest breaks up into like the actual, into more like the regular pasta, because these are egg noodles, a little different than pasta, but same idea. Then you could just let it, I never touch it again usually. I'll wait till everything breaks up. And once it breaks up, there's like 5 minutes, so I won't ever touch it again usually. And I never cover it. All right, so I'm going to hit pause and then I'll come back as soon as it's done. All right, so what I had forgot is what I hadn't thought about was because originally when I put the butter in, it was just for me. All right, it was just for one meal. All right, so but because I added more spaghetti, I'm going to add more butter, so it's like it's all set up for like when I want to eat it. Now the type of strainer I use now, I used to use this one. All right, but whenever I make spaghetti, it goes through, the holes are a little too big, like regular spaghettis. For shells, it doesn't matter. All right, so there's the timer. Now, the only problem with this one I just found out is that it fits in here, but the problem is it fits in too perfectly. Like, it's hard to grab it. Now, it used to have a handle to come out, but the handle is a pain, so I took it out. Right, so I didn't like the handle. All right, so all you have to do, I got to start the butter up again. All right. So even if this cooks a little more, it's really not that big of a deal. All right, if it cooks like even 30 seconds more than what you planned. All right, so I don't have to do that after I pour the spaghetti in there. Just put something. Right, something to stop it, so this way you have something to grab onto. So now normally I do this over the sink for obvious reasons. All right, just because, but because I'm doing it, you got to be careful you don't touch the handle by accident. Now the problem is this is wet, so the heat's going to go through it. So there's also these silicone ones I have, which are better. All right, so normally, like I said, I would do this over the sink. I'd never do it like this, but because I'm just trying to show you everything what I do. All right, so that's the butter. All right, so I'll turn the butter down almost completely. So for this, the shells that I eat, a little bit different because some of the water will get trapped inside of the shell because as you can see, it's an actual shell. All right, so sometimes water gets trapped inside there, and you gotta shake the strainer. But for this, it really doesn't happen. So you can just grab that and just shake it up a little bit, and it's no big deal. All right, and so because I'm making it for 2 meals, like I might do it like just, let me see. You know what? I'll take this out. All right, and so what and so because it separates a little bit, just mix it up a little bit, and then if you want to be more exact, you know, just get a spoon and scoop it on, but for me, I don't particularly care that much. All right. All right, now at this point, what you might want to do, I ran out, so I don't have any. Man, I used most of the butter. But that's all right if I use most of the butter. It'll sink to the bottom. And then when I pour the rest of that onto, or I'll pour that's left over, whatever's left over here, I'll just pour it in a bowl and then reuse it for whatever, if I'm going to eat it tomorrow or the next day. And so now, just heat up these clams. Put a little bit in there just because it's right, just because it's you don't want it to stick. That's why I would have left the seafood. You should use leave some of that water from the clams so that when you're heating it up, right, it doesn't stick to the pan. Otherwise, it'll burn it and it won't cook it through. Whereas with the water, it'll cook it through. The water can evaporate. You can cook it until the water evaporates, and what's left is that seafood taste, also the clam taste, which means some of the salt also. All right, and then I just pour it on top. All right, so I don't have any Parmesan cheese, and normally I would pour the Parmesan cheese on now. All right, and then I add the clams on top of it, just because you want to be able to taste everything. You don't want everything. You want to be able to taste all the stuff. All right, you don't want to like everything to be blended in one flavor, because that defeats the point of part of the purpose of eating. Now all these I use in one meal because it's only one can of clams. Now I probably wouldn't use 2 cans, unless it's 2 cans sand. But all right, but that's it. So you can see it looks like, well, it's going to taste good, but I don't know how it looks to you guys, but it will taste good. All right, good night, guys. So if you want to try this, try it out, see how it tastes. And remember, even if you mess up, just try it again another time. Just modify the recipe from what I gave you to your taste. And sometimes what I'll add, maybe not to this, but what I'll add is some type of, like, I don't think I add anything to this, but the others, like, I don't like Tabasco sauce, but the brand Tabasco, the green sauce, is really flavorful, right? It's not really spicy, but it adds a lot of flavor, and that's why I like this. But tonight I don't really feel like having anything else on it, just like that, just like this. Now the only other thing I might add But I'm glad I don't have any Parmesan cheese because I'm not sure if I'd want it tonight. Would be the Parmesan cheese. All right. Good night, guys.